He thought he had won the breakup. Walking into the most exclusive wedding of the year with his stunning, younger fiancée on his arm, Liam felt invincible. He had convinced himself that his ex-wife, the woman he left behind in the dust of his ambition, was miserable and alone. He was ready to pity her. But the moment the ballroom doors opened, the pity turned to nausea. Because the woman standing next to the most powerful billionaire in the room wasn't a waitress. It was his ex-wife. And she wasn't just a guest, she was the one calling the shots. This is the story of a man who realized too late that he threw away a diamond to pick up a stone. The invitation had arrived in a velvet-lined envelope, heavy enough to bruise a toe if dropped. It was for the wedding of Tom Miller, an old college friend of Liam's who had done well in tech very well. Liam adjusted his silk tie in the rearview mirror of his leased BMW. He looked good. At 34, he still had the jawline that had made him popular in his fraternity days, though the stress of his failing real estate portfolio was starting to etch fine lines around his eyes. "Babe, are you listening to me?" Liam blinked, snapping back to the present. Beside him sat Jessica, his fiancée. She was 24, blonde, and currently pouting because the humidity was threatening her blowout. Jessica was the trophy Liam had acquired immediately after his divorce 2 years ago. She was vibrant, loud, and expensive, everything his ex-wife, Jamie, wasn't. "I'm listening, Jess," Liam said, forcing a smile. "You said the dress is a little tight. I said it's a Vera Wang. And if I can't breathe, it means it fits," she snapped, checking her reflection in the sun visor. "I just hope your ex isn't going to make a scene. You know how desperate women get at weddings." Liam tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Jamie? He hadn't seen Jamie since the day the divorce papers were signed. It had been a messy end to a 6-year marriage. Liam had grown bored. He felt Jamie, with her messy buns, accounting books, and preference for quiet nights in, was holding him back from the high-flying lifestyle he felt he deserved. He had cheated not once, but for months with Jessica, who was an intern at his firm at the time. When Jamie found out, she didn't scream. She didn't throw vases. She just went cold. She packed her bags, took her half of their modest savings, and vanished. "She won't make a scene," Liam said, his voice dripping with a confidence he didn't quite feel. "Jamie is passive. She's probably coming alone, if she comes at all. She'll see us, see the ring on your finger, and she'll stay in the corner." "Good," Jessica huffed. "Because I don't want any drama today. I want to network. Tom knows investors, right? You need to talk to them about the condo project." "I know, Jess. I know." The truth was, Liam was desperate. His empire was crumbling. The market had turned, and he was leveraged to the hilt. He needed a win. He needed investors. And more than anything, he needed to prove to everyone, especially Jamie, that leaving her was the catalyst for his success, not the beginning of his downfall. They pulled up to the venue. The Vanderbilt estate in Newport. It was a sprawling mansion overlooking the ocean, screaming old money. Valets in white jackets opened the car doors. As Liam stepped out, smoothing his tuxedo, he felt a familiar rush of adrenaline. This was his world. Or at least, the world he pretended to belong to. Jessica hooked her arm through his, her mood instantly shifting to camera-ready charisma. "Showtime," she whispered. They walked up the grand staircase, entering a ballroom that smelled of white lilies and money. Crystal chandeliers the size of small cars hung from the ceiling. A string quartet played softly in the corner. It was intimidatingly lavish. "Wow," Jessica breathed, her eyes scanning the room not for the beauty, but for the labels on the guests' clothing. "Liam, look. That's the CEO of Nexus. And over there, is that a senator?" Liam nodded, his chest puffing out. "I told you, Tom runs in big circles." He grabbed 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter and handed one to Jessica. His eyes scanned the crowd, looking for familiar faces, but mostly, he was looking for her. He wanted to get the encounter over with. He wanted to see her in an off-the-rack dress, looking tired and regretful. He needed that validation. "There's Tom," Liam pointed. Tom was standing near the center of the room, looking dapper but anxious. He was talking to a tall, broad-shouldered man whose back was to them. Liam steered Jessica through the crowd. "Tom, congratulations, buddy." Tom turned, his face lighting up with genuine warmth, though his eyes darted nervously to the man beside him. "Liam, you made it." And this must be Jessica. Charmed, Jessica said, extending a manicured hand. Great turnout, Tom, Liam said, clapping his friend on the shoulder. Place looks incredible. Must have cost a fortune. Ah, well, we had some help, Tom said vaguely. He seemed distracted. So, Liam lowered his voice. Is she here? Tom flinched slightly. Jamie? Yes, she's here. Alone? Liam asked, a smirk playing on his lips. Tom looked at Liam with an unreadable expression. It wasn't pity, exactly. It was more like the look you give someone standing on a trap door. Not exactly, Liam. Look, a lot has changed in 2 years. You might want to prepare yourself. Prepare myself? Liam laughed, taking a sip of champagne. Tom, I'm the one who filed, remember? I'm happy. I've moved on. I just hope she's doing okay. Surviving. Before Tom could answer, the room went quiet. The string quartet stopped playing. A hush fell over the crowd as the massive double doors at the far end of the ballroom opened. Is that the bride? Jessica asked, standing on her tiptoes. No, Tom whispered. That's the guest of honor. Liam turned to look. Walking through the doors was a man who radiated power. He was in his early 40s, wearing a tuxedo that fit him so perfectly it made Liam's look like a costume. He had dark hair, piercing blue eyes, and the kind of commanding presence that sucked the air out of the room. It was Gabriel Hunt. Liam's jaw dropped. Gabriel Hunt was a ghost, a legend, a billionaire venture capitalist who owned half of Silicon Valley and a good chunk of Manhattan real estate. He was notoriously private, rarely seen at social events. What is Gabriel Hunt doing here? Liam whispered, stunned. He's a close friend of the family, Tom murmured. But nobody was looking at Gabriel. All eyes were on the woman on his arm. She was wearing a floor-length gown of emerald silk that clung to her curves like liquid water. Her hair, once usually tied up in a messy bun, cascaded down her back in glossy, chestnut waves. She wore diamonds around her neck that caught the light and scattered it across the room. She looked regal. She looked breathtaking. She looked familiar. Liam squinted. The shape of the face? The smile. The woman threw her head back and laughed at something, Gabriel whispered to her, placing a hand intimately on his chest. Liam's glass slipped from his fingers. It shattered on the marble floor, the sound echoing through the silent room. Liam, what the hell? Jessica hissed, jumping back to avoid the splash. Liam didn't hear her. He couldn't breathe. Jamie? He whispered. The sound of breaking glass drew attention. Heads turned. Even Gabriel Hunt paused, his gaze sweeping over the crowd until it landed on Liam. His expression was cold, calculating, and utterly unimpressed. Beside him, Jamie followed his gaze. For a second, Liam expected to see fear, or sadness, or that pleading look she used to give him when he came home late smelling of another woman's perfume. Instead, Jamie looked at him with the polite detachment one might offer a stranger who had just dropped their groceries. She didn't flinch. She simply whispered something to Gabriel, who nodded protectively, his hand tightening slightly on her waist. That's your ex-wife? Jessica screeched, her voice too loud in the quiet room. She looked from Jamie's emerald gown to her own sequined dress, realizing instantly that she was outclassed. You said she was a frumpy accountant. I thought she was, Liam stammered. A waiter rushed over to clean the mess, giving Liam a glare. Tom, the groom, sighed. I tried to warn you, Liam. How? Liam demanded, grabbing Tom's arm. How does she know Gabriel Hunt? Is she his assistant? His accountant? That had to be it. Jamie was good with numbers. She must be working for him. The dress, the jewelry, it was probably a company perk. Or maybe she was filling in as a platonic date for a PR event. Tom pulled his arm away. Liam, pull it together. She's not his employee. But Liam was already moving. Driven by a toxic mix of jealousy and confusion, he began to push through the crowd toward them. Liam, wait, Jessica hissed, chasing after him, her heels clicking frantically. Liam stopped a few feet away from the couple. Up close, Jamie looked even more radiant. Her skin glowed. She stood taller than he remembered. Jamie, Liam said, his voice cracking slightly. The conversation circle around Gabriel and Jamie fell silent. These were high-powered people, CEOs, investors, and they all looked at Liam like he was a bug on a windshield. Jamie turned fully toward him. Her eyes were clear and sharp. Hello, Liam. It's been a while. You look different, Liam managed. I am different, she said simply. Gabriel Hunt stepped forward, interposing himself slightly between Jamie and Liam. He towered over Liam by a good 3 inches. Is there a problem here? Gabriel's voice was a deep baritone that vibrated in Liam's chest. No problem, Liam said quickly, his arrogance faltering in the face of actual power. I'm just catching up. Jamie and I were married. I am aware, Gabriel said. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. She has told me everything. The way he said everything made Liam's stomach churn. Jessica finally caught up, breathless and flustered. She immediately plastered on a fake smile, sensing that Gabriel was the most important person in the room. Hi, I'm Jessica, she chirped, extending her hand to Gabriel, ignoring Jamie completely, Liam's fiancée. Gabriel looked at the hand, then at Jessica, but didn't take it. Gabriel Hunt. Jessica awkwardly withdrew her hand, her face flushing pink. She turned to Jamie, her eyes narrowing. So, Jamie, Liam told me you were into bookkeeping? It's so nice of Mr. Hunt to bring his staff to such a fancy event. The silence that followed was deafening. Several people nearby gasped. Tom, who had followed them, covered his face with his hand. Jamie didn't get angry. A small, amused smile played on her lips. She looked at Jessica with genuine pity. I still enjoy bookkeeping, Jamie said softly. Whatever keeps the assets managed. Staff? Gabriel repeated, a dry chuckle escaping his lips. He looked down at Jamie with a look of pure adoration. Darling, did you forget to tell them? I didn't think it was relevant, Jamie said. Tell us what? Liam asked, sensing the ground crumbling beneath him. Gabriel raised his left hand, which was resting on Jamie's waist. He then took Jamie's left hand and raised it. There, on her ring finger, sat a diamond. It wasn't just a diamond. It was a canary yellow diamond, flawlessly cut, surrounded by rare pink argyle diamonds. It was worth more than Liam's entire life earnings. And resting right below it was a platinum wedding band. Jamie isn't my staff, Gabriel said, his voice ringing out clearly for the eavesdroppers. She is my wife. Mrs. Jamie Hunt. Liam felt the blood drain from his face. Wife? But when? 6 months ago, Jamie said. In Lake Como. It was a private ceremony. But how? Liam stuttered. You buy coupons. You watch Netflix. You're Jamie. I was the Jamie you made me feel I had to be, she corrected him, her voice hardening. I made myself small so you could feel big, Liam. I stopped doing that the day you left. Jessica looked like she had swallowed a lemon. Married? To him? She looked at Gabriel, then at Liam, doing the math in her head. Liam was a struggling developer in a leased BMW. Gabriel Hunt was a man who could buy countries. We were just going to find our seats, Gabriel said dismissively. Come, amore. He turned his back on Liam completely. Jamie turned too, but she paused for a split second. She looked at Jessica. Nice dress, Jessica, Jamie said. Vera Wang, Spring 2018 collection? I remember liking that one when it was on the rack. She walked away, the emerald silk flowing behind her like a royal cape. Liam stood frozen. On the rack. It was a subtle dig, implying Jessica was wearing old news, while Jamie was wearing custom couture. Did she just? Jessica seethed. Liam, do something. Shut up, Liam whispered, staring at the back of the billionaire's head. Just, shut up. Liam's mind was racing. Jamie was married to Gabriel Hunt. Gabriel Hunt, whose venture capital firm, Hunt Global, was the only entity currently considering funding Liam's failing condo project. He had a meeting scheduled with Hunt Global's acquisition team next week. He had assumed he would be pitching to a board of faceless executives. Realization hit him like a freight train. He wasn't just pitching to a company. He was pitching to his ex-wife's husband. I'm dead, Liam muttered. I'm absolutely dead. The dinner was an agonizing affair. As fate, or perhaps Jamie's intervention would have it, Liam and Jessica were seated at table 14, near the back, next to the kitchen doors. Jamie and Gabriel were at the head table, sitting directly next to the bride and groom. Every time Liam looked up, he saw Gabriel whispering in Jamie's ear, or Jamie laughing, throwing her head back with a freedom Liam had never seen in their 6 years together. This salmon is dry, Jessica complained, poking at her plate. And why are we sitting with the second cousins? Liam, you said you and Tom were best friends. We were, Liam gritted out. Clearly, plans changed. He pulled out his phone under the table and frantically Googled Gabriel Hunt wife. There were no articles, no tabloid spreads. Gabriel was famous for wiping the internet of his private life. But then, he found a blurry photo from a charity gala in Monaco 3 months ago. The caption read, Gabriel Hunt with the mysterious philanthropist who has been restructuring his charitable foundation. Philanthropist, Liam scoffed. She used to complain about donating $10 to the animal shelter because we needed to save for a mortgage. He couldn't reconcile the two women. The Jamie he knew counted pennies. The Jamie at the head table was currently drinking a vintage Bordeaux that cost $5,000 a bottle. Suddenly, the music lowered. The best man had done his speech, and now, to everyone's surprise, Gabriel Hunt stood up. He tapped his glass with a silver knife. I know it is customary for the best man to give the final toast, Gabriel began, his voice commanding the room without a microphone. But Tom has been a good friend to Jamie and me, and he asked if I would say a few words. The room was rapt. Love, Gabriel said, looking down at Jamie, is about recognition. It is about seeing the value in someone when the rest of the world, or perhaps the people in their past, were too blind to see it. Liam felt the gaze of several people at his table shift toward him. He sank lower in his chair. When I met Jamie, Gabriel continued, she was rebuilding her life. She had been told she was ordinary. She had been told she was limiting. Gabriel used the exact word Liam had used in their breakup argument. Liam choked on his water. Jamie had told him everything. But what I saw was brilliance, Gabriel said. I saw a woman who could manage complex systems with her eyes closed. I saw a woman of integrity, a woman who stood by her commitments until they were broken by others. Gabriel raised his glass. To Tom and his bride, may you never take each other for granted. Because if you drop a diamond, someone else will pick it up. Cheers! The room erupted. Liam didn't drink. He felt sick. He's talking about you, Jessica whispered, her eyes wide. That is so embarrassing, Liam. Everyone knows. I have to fix this, Liam said, standing up abruptly. Sit down, Jessica hissed. You're making it worse. I have a meeting with his company on Tuesday, Jess. If he knows who I am, he's going to crush me. I have to. I have to smooth it over. I have to appeal to Jamie. Appeal to her? Jessica scoffed. Good luck. Liam waited until the dancing started. The lights dimmed, and the DJ started playing upbeat jazz. He watched Gabriel lead Jamie to the dance floor. They moved perfectly together. Liam downed a scotch from the open bar to steady his nerves and waited for his moment. Eventually, Gabriel was pulled away by the senator Liam had seen earlier. Jamie was left alone for a moment near the edge of the terrace. This was his chance. Liam straightened his jacket and walked over. Jamie. She turned, holding a glass of sparkling water. She didn't look surprised to see him. Liam, I wondered how long it would take you to corner me. I'm not cornering you, Liam said, trying to summon his old charm, the smile that used to make her blush. I wanted to say congratulations. I had no idea. Thank you, she said politely. He's intense, Liam said, gesturing toward Gabriel. Very different from me. Yes, Jamie said, her eyes cold. He's loyal. And he's honest. Liam winced. Look, Jamie, I know I hurt you. I know things ended badly, but we had some good years, didn't we? I mean, I helped you become who you are. Jamie laughed. It was a dark, dry sound. You helped me? Liam, you almost destroyed me. You drained our savings for your investments that never paid off. You made me feel like I was boring for wanting security. And then you left me for your secretary. She was an intern, Liam corrected automatically, then regretted it. Look, I'm sorry. I was an idiot, but I'm in a bit of a bind, Jamie. Jamie raised an eyebrow. Oh? Here it comes. My company. Liam lowered his voice. I have a pitch with Hunt Global next week. The Vista project. It's a solid deal, Jamie. Good returns. I need to know if Gabriel is going to kill it because of us. Jamie took a sip of her water, looking at him over the rim of the glass. Gabriel separates business from personal matters. Usually. Okay, good. That's good, Liam exhaled. However, Jamie continued, I don't. Liam froze. What do you mean? I'm not just his wife, Liam, Jamie said calmly. I'm on the board of directors for Hunt Global. I head the risk assessment division, and when I saw the name Liam Miller on the docket for Tuesday, I pulled the file myself. Liam's mouth went dry. And, Jamie smiled, I found some very interesting discrepancies in your accounting. Inflated asset values? Hidden liabilities? It looks like you're trying to secure a loan to pay off other loans. That's standard industry practice. Liam sweat. It's fraud, Liam, she whispered. Before Liam could respond, a shadow fell over them. Gabriel was back. Is he bothering you, darling? Gabriel asked, his voice low and dangerous. No, Jamie said, placing a hand on Gabriel's arm. Liam was just leaving. He was just realizing that he doesn't have a meeting on Tuesday anymore. Gabriel looked at Liam. Ah, the Vista project. Yes, Jamie showed me the file. We passed. And Liam? Yes? If you ever approach my wife again without an invitation, Gabriel said, leaning in close, I won't just cancel your meeting. I'll buy your debt and foreclose on your life. Do we understand each other? Liam nodded, terrified. Good, enjoy the cake. Gabriel swept Jamie away back onto the dance floor. Liam was left standing alone on the terrace, the cool ocean breeze doing nothing to stop the sweat pouring down his back. He turned to leave, defeated, but found Jessica standing there. She had heard the end of the conversation. You're broke? Jessica asked, her voice flat. Jess, it's just a setback. You told me you were rich. You told me the business was booming. She looked at the diamond on her finger, a modest one compared to Jamie's rock. You're a fraud? I can fix it, Liam pleaded. Jessica looked at him, then at Jamie and Gabriel spinning on the dance floor in a world of wealth she would never touch as long as she stayed with Liam. I'm going to the bar, Jessica said. Don't wait up. As Liam watched her walk away and then looked back at the woman he had thrown away, the reality finally settled in. He hadn't just lost a wife, he had lost his future. And the twist? He had handed it directly to the man who was now living the life Liam had always dreamed of. But the night wasn't over, and Jamie wasn't done with him yet. Liam stood on the terrace, gripping the stone railing until his knuckles turned white. The ocean breeze was cold, but the memory burning in his mind was scorching hot. He watched Jamie through the glass doors. She was laughing at something the senator said, looking at Gabriel with a softness Liam hadn't seen in years. To understand the magnitude of his mistake, Liam had to replay the tape. He had to remember the day he killed their marriage. It was 2 years ago, almost to the day. The setting wasn't a mansion. It was their 2-bedroom apartment in the suburbs, a place Liam called a coffin because it was too small for his ego. Jamie had been sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by coupons and utility bills. She was wearing an oversized t-shirt, her hair in a messy bun, looking exhausted from a double shift at her junior accounting job. Liam had walked in, smelling of Jessica's expensive perfume and Dutch courage. I'm leaving, he had said, tossing his keys on the counter. Jamie didn't look up immediately. She just froze, her pen hovering over the electric bill. Leaving? For a business trip? For good, Jamie, Liam had sneered. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. The penny pinching, the mediocrity. You're an anchor, Jamie. I'm trying to fly, and you're dragging me down to the bottom of the ocean with your fear of risk. Jamie had finally looked up. Her eyes weren't angry. They were confused. I'm the reason we have savings, Liam. I'm the reason you haven't gone bankrupt 3 times already. Savings? Liam laughed cruelly. You call that savings? I need capital, Jamie, and I need a partner who looks the part. Jessica believes in me. She knows I'm going to be a CEO. Jessica, Jamie whispered. The betrayal hit her then. Your intern? She's more than an intern. She's the future. You're the past. He expected her to beg. He wanted her to beg. It would have validated his superiority. But Jamie didn't beg. She stood up, her hands trembling slightly, and looked him in the eye. You can have the apartment, she said quietly. I'll take my things. But Liam? When you crash, and you will crash, don't look for me. She left that night with 2 suitcases and $4,000 to her name. What Liam didn't know, what he never bothered to ask, was what happened to her after. Jamie moved into a studio apartment the size of a closet. She ate instant noodles for months. But she was free. Without Liam draining their account for his flashy lifestyle, she had money to take advanced certification courses. She became a forensic accountant, an expert in finding hidden money and financial fraud. 6 months after the divorce, she was hired as a temporary auditor for a subsidiary of Hunt Global. It was supposed to be a 2-week gig. But on her 3rd day, Jamie noticed a pattern in the numbers. A tiny, almost invisible discrepancy in the shipping logistics fund. Most people would have ignored it. Jamie didn't. She stayed up for 3 nights straight, tracing the digital paper trail. She found a $12 million embezzlement scheme run by the subsidiary's CFO. She didn't go to her manager. She didn't go to HR. She knew the rot went deep. She booked a meeting with the CEO of the parent company, Gabriel Hunt. Gabriel was known as the Wolf. He was ruthless, impatient, and terrifying. When Jamie walked into his massive glass office, shaking in her cheap suit, he didn't even look up from his papers. "You have 5 minutes," he had barked. "If you waste my time, you're fired. You're losing $4 million a quarter through a shell company in the Cayman Islands disguised as a logistics vendor," Jamie said, her voice shaking but clear. "And your CFO is signing the checks." Gabriel stopped writing. He slowly looked up. His piercing blue eyes bore into hers. "Show me," he said. They spent the next 6 hours going over the books. For the first time in years, a man didn't look at Jamie and see a housekeeper or a nagging wife. Gabriel saw a mind that matched his own. He saw brilliance. "Why bring this to me?" Gabriel asked her at 2 a.m. as they shared lukewarm coffee. "You could have blackmailed the CFO. You could have made a fortune." "I value truth," Jamie said simply. "And I hate thieves." Gabriel hired her on the spot as the head of his internal audit team. 3 months later, he asked her to dinner, not to talk business, but because he couldn't stop thinking about the woman who had saved his company with nothing but a spreadsheet and a sense of justice. He didn't care about her clothes. He didn't care about her status. He bought her the emerald dress because it matched her eyes. He bought her the diamonds because they were the hardest substance on earth, just like her resolve. Liam had thrown away a stone, thinking it was worthless. Gabriel polished it and revealed the diamond. Back on the terrace, Liam finished his drink. The memory was a bitter pill. He had created his own destruction. He had pushed her right into the arms of the only man powerful enough to ruin him. Inside the ballroom, the atmosphere was shifting. The alcohol was flowing, and the polite veneer of the upper class was starting to crack. Jessica was at the bar. On her 4th martini, she was seething. She had spent the last 2 years thinking she had won Liam. She thought she had upgraded her life. Now, realizing that Jamie, the woman she used to mock in the office break room, was the wife of a billionaire, Jessica felt like she had been sold a fake Gucci bag. She watched Jamie near the chocolate fountain, chatting with Tom's mother. Jamie looked effortless. Jessica slammed her glass down. She wasn't going to let this slide. In her intoxicated mind, this was all a misunderstanding. If she could just talk to Gabriel, really talk to him, she could charm him. She was younger than Jamie. She was fun. Surely a billionaire would prefer a model-esque blonde over a forensic accountant? Jessica smoothed her dress and wobbled toward the head table where Gabriel was currently sitting alone, checking messages on his phone while Jamie socialized. Liam, coming in from the terrace, saw her trajectory. "Jess, no," he muttered, breaking into a run. But he was too late. Jessica slid into the empty chair next to Gabriel. "Hi again," she purred, leaning forward to maximize her cleavage. "Mr. Hunt, right? I feel like we got off on the wrong foot." Gabriel didn't look up from his phone. "We didn't get off on any foot, miss?" "Jessica." "Future Mrs. Miller," she giggled, then sobered up. "Well, maybe. Depending on how tonight goes. You know, Liam talks about you all the time. Does he?" Gabriel finally looked at her. His eyes were devoid of warmth. "He shouldn't. I don't know him." "Oh, come on." Jessica reached out and touched Gabriel's arm. "He's pitching to your company on Tuesday. The Vista project? It's going to be huge. Maybe. Maybe if you and I got a drink later, I could explain the finer points to you." The audacity was breathtaking. The table next to them went silent. Gabriel looked at her hand on his arm as if it were a radioactive spider. He slowly peeled her fingers off with 2 of his own. "Miss," Gabriel said, his voice loud enough to carry, "are you propositioning me? At a wedding? Where my wife is present?" Jessica flustered. No. I mean, I'm just networking. You are soliciting, Gabriel corrected her coldly. And frankly, you are terrible at it. Excuse me? Jessica's face turned red. You are sitting in my wife's chair, Gabriel said, standing up to his full height. And you are attempting to undermine her by flirting with me. It is desperate, it is transparent, and it is disgusting. Jamie appeared at Gabriel's side. She didn't look angry, she looked amused. Is she bothering you, Gabriel? Jamie asked. She was just leaving, Gabriel said. Jessica stood up, her humiliation turning into rage. She pointed a shaking finger at Jamie. You think you're so special? You're just a rebound. Liam left you because you were boring. You think this guy loves you? He just wants a trophy, just like Liam wanted me. The music stopped. The DJ, sensing the tension, cut the track. The entire ballroom stared. Jamie stepped forward. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Jessica, Jamie said calmly. Liam didn't leave me because I was boring. He left me because he is a narcissist who needs constant validation, and I stopped giving it to him. And he picked you because you are easy to manipulate. I am not, Jessica screamed. Really? Jamie tilted her head. Did he tell you he was rich? Did he tell you the condo project was fully funded? Did he tell you the BMW is leased in his mother's name? Gasps rippled through the room. What? Jessica whipped her head around to look at Liam, who was frozen halfway across the dance floor. Liam? Is that true? Liam opened his mouth, but no words came out. He's broke, Jessica, Jamie continued mercilessly. He's been using your credit cards to float the business expenses, hasn't he? Check your statement. Jessica's eyes went wide. She fumbled for her phone in her clutch. She opened her banking app. Her scream pierced the air. $40,000? She shrieked. You put $40,000 on my Amex? I was going to pay it back after the Hunt deal, Liam yelled, his cover blown. Jess, listen to me. You stole from me. Jessica threw her martini glass at him. It missed and shattered against a pillar. You loser. You absolute loser. She turned to Gabriel, suddenly desperate. Mr. Hunt, please, you have to help me. I didn't know. Gabriel looked at her with disdain. You made your bed. Lie in it. Jessica looked around the room. Hundreds of eyes judged her. She burst into tears and ran for the exit, tripping over her dress, creating a scene of absolute chaos. Liam stood alone in the center of the dance floor. He was stripped bare. His financial secrets were out. His fiancée was gone, and the man holding his fate was staring at him with a grim smile. Well, Tom, the groom, said into the awkward silence, who wants cake? The weekend passed in a blur of panic for Liam. Jessica blocked his number. His landlord called about the late rent on his luxury apartment. But Liam clung to one shred of hope. The meeting. Even though Jamie had said they passed, the meeting was still technically on the calendar for Tuesday morning. Maybe Gabriel hadn't officially canceled it yet. Maybe Liam could go in, plead his case, blame the accounting errors on a fired employee, and beg for mercy. It was delusional, but it was all he had. Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Liam walked into the Hunt Global headquarters in downtown Manhattan. The building was a glass monolith that seemed to touch the clouds. He wore his best suit, though it felt like a costume now. He approached the reception desk. Liam Miller, here to see the acquisitions team. The receptionist didn't smile. She typed something into her computer. Mr. Miller, you're expected. Conference room B, the 40th floor. Liam's heart soared. You're expected. They hadn't canceled. There was a chance. He rode the elevator up, his palms sweating. He rehearsed his pitch, synergy, ROI, future growth. The elevator doors opened. He walked down the plush corridor to conference room B. He opened the heavy oak doors. The room was empty of executives. There was no board of directors. There was no acquisition team. There was just a single long table. And at the head of it sat Jamie. She was wearing a sharp navy business suit, her hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. She was typing on a laptop. She didn't look up as he entered. Jamie? Liam asked, confused. Where? Where is the team? There is no team, Liam, Jamie said, closing her laptop. Just me. But the pitch. I canceled the pitch on Friday night, she said, but I kept the appointment. Because we have other business to discuss. What business? Liam asked, sinking into a chair. He felt small. Jamie slid a thick folder across the mahogany table. Open it. Liam opened the folder. It was a legal document. The header read, Notice of Debt Acquisition. What is this? You have 3 outstanding business loans, Jamie recited from memory. 1 with Citibank, 1 with a private equity firm, and 1 high-interest bridge loan you took out last month to pay for Jessica's ring. Total debt, $2.4 million. So? I'm servicing the interest, Liam stammered. You were, Jamie corrected. But those loans contained a change of control clause. And since your credit rating tanked after the rumors at the wedding spread, news travels fast in our circle, the banks were looking to offload the risk. Liam felt the blood leave his brain. You bought my debt? Hunt Global bought your debt, Jamie said. Or rather, a subsidiary that I managed did, which makes me your creditor, Liam. And you are in default. I can pay. Just give me time. You have no liquidity, Jamie said, flipping a page. I've seen your accounts. You're insolvent. And as your creditor, I'm exercising my right to call the loans immediately. You can't do this, Liam whispered. This is personal. It is personal, Jamie agreed, her eyes flashing. You told me I was nothing. You told me I was a liability. Now, I am the one holding the ledger. She pressed a button on the intercom. Send them in. The doors opened again. 2 men in dark suits entered. Security. Liam Miller, Jamie said formally. We are seizing your business assets to recoup the debt. This includes your office equipment, your intellectual property, and the lease on your office space. You have 1 hour to clear out your personal effects. You're bankrupting me, Liam said, tears stinging his eyes. Jamie, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything. Jamie stood up. She walked around the table until she stood right in front of him. You're not sorry you hurt me, Liam. You're sorry you lost. There's a difference. She leaned in, her voice low. You wanted a story of success, Liam. You wanted to be the big man. Well, here is your reality check. You didn't build an empire. You built a house of cards. And I just opened a window. She turned to the security guards. Escort Mr. Miller out of the building. And make sure he doesn't steal the stapler. It's company property now. Liam was marched out of the building, past the staring receptionists, out onto the cold pavement of the street. He stood there, dazed, watching the busy city move around him. He had walked in, hoping for $1 million. He walked out with nothing but the lint in his pockets. 1 year later, the steam wand screamed, a high-pitched shriek that pierced through the clatter of ceramic cups and the low hum of indie folk music. Oat milk? I said oat milk? The voice was sharp, entitled, and alarmingly familiar, not because Liam knew the man, but because he knew the tone. It was the tone of a man who believed his time was worth more than anyone else's dignity. Liam wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead with the back of his wrist. The humidity in the small, crowded coffee shop on 42nd Street was suffocating. It was August in New York, and the air conditioning had been broken for 3 days. My apologies, sir, Liam said, his voice raspy from shouting over the grinders for 6 hours straight. I'll remake that for you right away. He took the cup back, dumping the scalding liquid down the drain. As he frothed a new pitcher of milk, Liam caught his reflection in the stainless steel of the espresso machine. The man staring back was a stranger. The sharp, arrogant jawline was softened by fatigue. The hair, once styled with $40 clay, was limp and hidden under a green baseball cap that smelled of stale roasted beans. The tailored suits were gone, replaced by a black polo shirt that was 1 size too big and stained with coffee grounds. His feet throbbed. He was wearing cheap, non-slip sneakers, but after an 8-hour shift standing on concrete, it felt like he was walking on broken glass. He remembered the Italian loafers. He used to wear soft leather, handmade, costing more than his current monthly rent. He remembered how he used to complain if they got a scuff. Now, he just hoped his current shoes would last until his next paycheck. Here you go, Liam said, placing the new latte on the counter. The customer, a young guy in a navy suit who couldn't have been more than 25, snatched the cup without looking up from his phone. He didn't say thank you. He didn't even acknowledge Liam's existence. He just turned and walked out, talking loudly on his AirPods about leveraging assets and Q3 projections. Liam watched him go, a bitter taste rising in his throat. That was me, he thought. Just 12 months ago, that was me. The fall had been brutal. It wasn't just the bankruptcy. It was the isolation. When when Mrs. Hunt had seized his assets, the illusion of his life had evaporated instantly. The friends he had partied with in the Hamptons stopped returning his texts the moment the credit cards were declined. Tom, his college buddy, had ghosted him completely, likely terrified of offending Gabriel Hunt. And Jessica? Jessica had lasted exactly 3 days after the wedding. She had raided the apartment for anything of value, his watch, the TV, even the espresso machine, and vanished. He heard through the grapevine she was in Miami now, clinging to the arm of a club promoter, chasing the same hollow dream that had led her to Liam. "Liam, table 4 needs clearing. We have a line out the door." The manager's voice snapped him back to reality. His manager was a 19-year-old kid named Kevin who took immense pleasure in bossing around a man twice his age. "On it," Liam muttered. He grabbed a damp rag and a bus tub and wove his way through the crowded tables. The cafe was filled with the lunchtime rush. Junior executives, tourists, freelancers glued to their MacBooks. It was a sea of people striving, climbing, pretending to be important. Liam reached table 4, a small booth near the window. The previous occupants had left a mess: crumpled napkins, half-eaten biscotti, and a glossy magazine left open on the table. Liam wiped down the crumbs, his movements mechanical. He picked up the magazine to toss it into the recycling bin. It was the latest issue of Forbes. He was about to close it when the image on the page froze the breath in his lungs. It wasn't a small feature. It was a double-page spread. The photograph was taken in what looked like a vineyard, with golden sunlight bathing the subjects in an ethereal glow. Standing in the foreground was Gabriel Hunt, looking as imposing as ever in a casual linen suit. But for the first time, Gabriel wasn't the focal point. He was looking at the woman beside him, his expression one of profound respect and adoration. It was Jamie. Liam's hand trembled, the magazine shaking slightly. She looked transformed. It wasn't just the clothes, though the white tailored power suit she wore was impeccable. It was her posture. In the 6 years they were married, Liam remembered Jamie always hunched slightly, as if trying to take up less space, as if apologizing for her own existence. In the photo, her shoulders were back, her chin was lifted, her eyes, which used to look tired and anxious, were piercing and bright. She looked formidable. She looked like a queen who had not only ascended the throne, but had built the castle herself. The headline screamed in bold, black serif font, "The Power Couple: How Gabriel and Jamie Hunt Are Revolutionizing Ethical Investing." Liam felt a physical ache in his chest, a hollowness that threatened to swallow him whole. He leaned against the table, ignoring the glare of a woman waiting for the seat, and began to read the article. For years, the narrative of success in finance has been about aggression, the article quoted Jamie. But true growth comes from sustainability. You cannot build a future if you are constantly burning bridges to fuel your present. My husband and I believe that integrity is the most valuable asset in any portfolio. My husband. The words were like a physical blow. The article went on to detail her work. It wasn't just a title Gabriel had given her. She had spearheaded a massive initiative to audit charitable foundations, recovering millions of dollars in misappropriated funds. She was a hero in the financial world. She was respected. She was powerful. Liam read the sidebar, a small "About the Subject" section. Jamie Hunt credits her success to a period of necessary reinvention following a difficult personal chapter. "I realized that I had been carrying dead weight," she told Forbes. "I was pouring my energy into a black hole, hoping it would eventually shine back at me. Once I stopped feeding that void and started investing in myself, everything changed." Dead weight. A black hole. Liam closed his eyes. For a year, he had told himself a story to survive. He had told himself that Jamie was vindictive, that she was cruel, that she had ruined him out of spite. He had cast himself as the victim of a scorned woman's wrath. But looking at her face in the magazine, serene, confident, thriving, the lie crumbled. She hadn't ruined him. She had simply stopped saving him. He realized now, with a clarity that hurt worse than the bankruptcy, that he had never been the protagonist of their life. He had been the antagonist of hers. He was the obstacle she had to overcome. His empire had been built on her patience, her credit score, her emotional labor. He had drained her dry and then blamed her for being empty. Gabriel Hunt hadn't given her that power. Gabriel had simply recognized it. He had seen the diamond while Liam was busy complaining about the uncut stone. "Liam, are you reading on the clock? Move it." Kevin's voice cut through the noise. Liam jumped, startled. He looked down at the magazine one last time. He had a sudden, desperate urge to steal it, to take it home and stare at it, to keep this paper ghost of the life he threw away. But he didn't. He carefully closed the magazine. He smoothed out a dog-eared corner of the cover. "Sorry, Kevin," Liam called out, his voice steady. "Just cleaning up." He placed the magazine gently back on the rack near the door, positioning it so Jamie's face was visible to everyone who walked in. It was the only apology he could offer, a silent acknowledgement of her victory. He picked up his bus tub, heavy with dirty dishes and cold coffee. The weight of it settled in his arms, familiar and grounding. This was his reality now. No shortcuts, no facades, just the work. He walked back toward the kitchen, the steam wand hissing behind him. Stepping over the threshold from the past he destroyed into the future he had earned. And that is the story of how Liam learned the hardest lesson of his life. When you trade a diamond for a rock, don't be surprised when the rock drags you down. He thought power came from appearance, but he learned too late that real power comes from character. Jamie didn't just get revenge, she got justice. And she did it by being exactly who she always was, brilliant, capable, and unbreakable. What do you think? Did Liam deserve his fate? Or was Jamie too harsh? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of karma and redemption, please hit that like button, it really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a new story. Until next time, remember, be careful who you step on while climbing the ladder, because you might meet them on the way down.